So welcome to Start Up with Hev and
Jess.
Listen, some people talk so slow I cannot handle it. I just want to finish their sentence before that. I was pretty proud of us.
What do you remember about Abercrombie? So they've been extremely successful in this shift in strategy.
I did let my cousin Carrie and her husband and Mike listen to the Shein podcast on the way home for like 25 minutes.
And?
I'm not sure they're our audience. No, I'm kidding.
I literally, like, I had lunch with my cousin Elena today, and she's like, so what's the topic of the podcast? And I said, stick with me. I don't have my elevator pitch yet. And I, like, kind of gave her the rundown. She's like, I don't listen to podcasts. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Bye. Love you. Bye. Okay. So welcome to Start Up with Hev and
Jess.
It's Labor Day weekend. It's Monday of Labor Day.
Yeah.
We don't know what sequence these episodes are going to air in yet, so I'm not sure if that's relevant or not. But we're coming off Labor Day weekend, so I'm assuming we've got things to share.
Yeah.
So we'll start out with the spill, where we talk about all the things, grievances, good vibes, anything that's really on top of mind, current events or otherwise. And then we'll get into the real tea, where we talk business shop talk today.
You're going to say business shit?
Business shit. That is also, if you've been in business a long time, that's exactly how it all just blends together. We're going to talk about Abercrombie and Fitch today. And then we'll wrap it up with, are we clinking to this brand, or is it last call for Hev and or Jess?
We'll see where we land on it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. This one I've been ready for.
Right. You feel like personally this is our most juicy topic. Like you feel like the Abercrombie is a good topic.
It's totally juicy. Okay. I'm like a little nervous to talk about the juice, to spill the tea a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit.
I have we'll get to it, but this is Abercrombie. This is my Abercrombie merch. This is actually Bennett's.
It's newer-ish, right?
I
was
think
looking for a Detroit Abercrombie shirt.
Yeah.
And I haven't found one that I loved yet. I don't know if they're not yet aware that Detroit's going to win the Super Bowl. Next year, when Detroit wins the Super Bowl after this season, they'll be more on board. But we're a little under radar for their brand, I think.
Well, I got this last Christmas.
I know. I mean, I love it.
When we were W'ing.
So the new one.
Not even a thing. Do you W or you just get the W?
They didn't have a lot of good options.
Right.
The girls' options were garbage, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We can table that. That was my grievance. My one grievance.
Jess already has a grievance for 2 minutes, and I love that. Fired up. Okay, Labor Day weekend. What'd you guys do? What'd the fam do?
Well, we really didn't do much. We stayed home. But I found myself in a little bit of a... I have a story to tell you, and I need you to tell me if I'm like a bad mom. I need to call like the toxin control.
Oh boy.
My kids. So I think that toothbrushing endeavors, like getting your kids to brush their teeth, 2 and 4-year-old kids to brush their teeth, is like
they're gonna follow it anyway.
Hardest.
Sorry,
yeah, that's how I feel. Those teeth they're gonna lose them. So like, thank God, it is the hardest parenting task that I have to do is like getting these kids to brush their teeth. So Clay's a little bit better. If he sees me doing it, he wants to brush his teeth. So I'm like brushing my teeth. He's going through the drawer to get toothpaste out, but he's gone through like multiple drawers. So I'm not really paying attention because I'm busy. And he gets out this little tube, and I keep the travel size toothpaste in there as well. He asked me to load it up. I'm like kind of busy, but I load up his toothpaste, and he goes, "This is yucky. This is yucky."
Oh no.
An hour later, Matt comes by and he says, "Why do you have the athlete's foot cream out?" Which I have never used. He uses it occasionally.
For sure.
And I said, "I don't know. I thought maybe you had itchy foot. Like I wondered why it was out too." And then I realized that's exactly where I had set down Clay's toothpaste. He brushed his teeth with athlete's
What did he say to you when he put it in?
Mom, that's yucky.
Did you Google it? What did they say? I mean, he probably didn't puke or anything.
No, I just came here and
we moved on. Mike's mom called poison control for Mike's brother twice in one day, I think, when he was little.
Oh my God, which brother?
Tyler.
Oh.
It's like busybody. Always into something. So good for Clay. So does that, he won't do that twice, will he?
He seems fine.
It's what we call free range parenting.
Yeah, it's a little bit wild. So yeah, that's how my parenting weekend was going.
Did the kids have fun at home? Did anybody come over?
Today we just went to visit my dad for a little bit. That was fun. Clay fell in the river. It is what it is. It was fine. He was covered in mud, and my dad likes to give him suckers, and so they were covered in sticky suckers, but they love that.
Oh yeah.
Had some mini beer shots.
Tommy likes to give the little kids suckers too. My dad. He actually carries Dum-Dums in his pockets and hands them out, and I'm like, Daddy. If people don't know
Dum-Dums would be better because they're smaller. My dad likes the big ones. They take all afternoon.
Yeah, they're stuck in your hair.
Yeah.
Some hair, some sucker, some hair, some sucker.
Stuck in Peyton's hair.
Yeah.
Yep. Clay had it everywhere. He just opened his mouth and like sticky drool would just ooze down. It's so gross. But my dad loves it. Whatever. He texted me and said that was so fun.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh.
I said the kids loved it. He said so did I.
Oh.
I know, so sweet.
They're getting to the age where you can perhaps, okay, Peyton, like, would you let him? I'm going to guess. Like, will you let him
watch her?
Yeah.
No. He needs a hip replacement, and I don't think he can really like easily pick up. So like, you need someone who can haul your kid from point A to point B if they're like falling in the river or something. You know, a little more nimble.
Yeah.
But I know that he would at least like he wouldn't just like let them roam freely and go play.
Would they come back? Would they be in one piece when you got back?
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe
not
not
an option. It would be.
What's the age?
What?
When they can go to Papa's house without Mama?
I have not ever thought about it. It would have because I don't know my kids until I don't know how they will be.
Yeah. So if she's like
honestly, for Peyton, it could be right now.
Right.
But not for Clay because also he's wild. Today we went downtown. And thankfully, the downtown streets are closed off for like the commons.
Yeah, I love that.
Like me too. But we were starting to walk towards where the parking lot was, where the vehicles are, and I'm trying to get Clay to come towards me and like not play in the streets anymore. And he gives me the look, and we are already like 20 feet away from one another at this point. And he just stops, and I know if I take one step forward,
he's gonna run away.
He's gonna book it. So we are both clocking each other, like zero trusting Clay whatsoever. Peyton,
she wouldn't go anywhere.
Easy, hard in different ways, but she would never do that.
Just a runaway man.
Yeah, immediately
My Reeve was that way.
His face.
Bennett would never do that to me, but my Reeve, he's actually good fishing at the river right now. Reeve is. He's 14, and I'm like, oh dear God, oh my gosh. I went to my parents' lake house with my cousin Carrie and her family. Well, Chloe wasn't there. Her oldest wasn't there. She's at her first weekend at Grand Valley this year. So I think a lot of the kids didn't come home because they've literally only been there for a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then Liv didn't come. She went to Torch Lake with her good friend. And so it was Reeve and Bennett, my two kids, and Mike, and then my cousin Carrie and her husband Brian. And their kiddo, and then we had some other teenagers join the jet ski. They did lots of jet skis. Yep, lots of jet skiing, fishing, bonfiring, BB gun shooting.
Oh my god!
Garage sailing, praying. It was almost noon every day. We woke up, the adults, not the high schoolers and the middle schoolers. I tried generally to wait till noon. Because I only have like 6 or 7 hours in me. And so I went to bed at, I'm not kidding you, both nights 7:30. Like I listened to a little bit of Michigan football like on Saturday, and last night I think the USC game was on. I don't know. So I kind of listened to it from my bed. But no, I don't have any more than 7 hours in me. So if I start drinking at 11, I'm going to go to bed at 5.
Yeah, understandable.
But I am ready to rock at 7:30 in the morning. Like if I'm going to be honest, like at the lake, like I could start.
Maybe that is what you should do, and then take a nap, and then.
I have a hard time recovering from naps.
Yeah, I understand that.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I do.
Hard time recovering. I thought a lot about the podcast as well.
Okay.
And then I listened to the second recording, whatever episode that will be.
Yeah.
I've learned that you and I can take a G off the end of any word together.
What does that mean?
Thinking, going, coming.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm like, if that doesn't articulate.
Like the Midwest. Whatever we come from.
And I also talk fast at times. I've had to work hard at that my whole life, like in a professional setting.
Same.
Really trying to slow down and articulate myself.
Yeah.
But then I think a lot of my friends who listen to podcasts, listen to podcasts, they myself included, I listen to a podcast at 1.5.
Yeah, I don't.
I have a lot of friends who do it at 2.
Yeah. Oh my God. It starts to sound funny.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it's good for your brain either to like listen. I don't know.
Maybe it's better. You're getting more information faster, efficient.
Listen, some people talk so slow I cannot handle it. I just want to finish their sentence for them. So I did notice that. So that was funny. And I also wonder, okay, when I get really into what I'm speaking about in a professional setting, do I say setting or do I say professional setting? Setting. Like how?
Well, here we can do that.
Anyways, also, I also noticed, which I know you probably wouldn't notice, but maybe you did notice, it is killing me that this carpet in here is in the frame and it does not match.
I meant to
the branding.
I meant to crop this side of it anyways. Mm-hmm. We'll see what we can do.
I'm dying. I'm literally dying inside. I'm like, no, this was way better. Because if you could actually see, we have a soft, lush cream rug that matches the brand color. So it'll matter. It matters less now than it will when we get our branding, our official branding and our mic, you know what I mean? And our things. Yeah. Then if I see one hint of this plaid lounge carpet and
you'll lose it.
I'll lose it. I can't. I would have shut the set down, like in a professional environment. That I would have shut the set right down. If Laura Rubenstein's listening, Laura, remember when I made them repaint the entire set wall because it was purple and it didn't go with the Great Step 5 in the middle? Like I shut down production by a couple hours because I was so upset about the fact that like, why would you paint a purple wall? And then put Great Stuff primary color. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we don't have a purple phone. Yeah. But yeah, that bothered me. Outside of that, for episode 2, I was pretty proud of us.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
100% better than our first.
You think?
Recording.
You do think so?
I think it was so good. Okay. I was really happy.
Okay.
I really like learning about all of this stuff, but I realize that I'm not an expert by any means. Maybe after 100 episodes of talking about different brands, that I've had to be an expert in the past on industries, markets, products to be able to present them.
Do you feel like you should more? Are you feeling like it's okay to continue just to presenting them and know what we know and talk about them? Okay, good.
I do. Okay. I think I just had to reset my expectations.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Mm-hmm. No, and it's different. The podcast is not about, I mean, if we wanted to be experts and we talk about go-to-market strategy and brand strategy and innovation, like we didn't say this podcast was Heather and Jess's capabilities and specialties. Right. You're putting the pressure on yourself.
Right. So I think I had this like thing in my mind, and then executing it, I was like, oh yeah, I've got like, these are just different things. Mm-hmm. And I think it's totally okay, but I had to reset a little bit of my expectations. Your question is always, do we have the right yet? And we won't until we do it. So we have to just do it.
Fair enough.
So it's like current state and future state, what I am and what I want to be. And at least there's a trajectory there. And that's really exciting. But I had to like humble myself, I guess.
In this instance, the strategy is just doing.
Yeah.
To get from is to future.
Kind of.
Also,
like, lots of stuff got us here, which is great.
Sure.
But to be what I think this can be, it'll still take some experience.
Should we talk about Abercrombie?
Are you ready?
I think I'm ready. And how this got brought up is there is a song on TikTok that we will put, however Jess says it's most appropriate to put it, in the comments, and a link on the screen. We'll tag her. But there was there's a young woman on TikTok who is a musician and a writer. And she, again, like I'd done little research on her, but she put together this jingle about Abercrombie, and there's some disparaging, like,
I don't know
comments
about this.
Correct. Right. And I said, did you hear about Abercrombie? And you're like, I didn't. And I said, I don't know anything other than there is now a famous jingle.
What's the jingle? Can you sing it?
No. It's like she writes this. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Jax. Her name is Jax.
Oh, even better.
At Jax Write Songs. Okay. She's got like a song for hypochondriac. Songs about stranger danger. Taylor Swift is actually, that's her lyrics. So let me see if I can find it.
Oh, really?
Victoria's Secret.
Oh, I know the Victoria's Secret song. So it wasn't Abercrombie.
Yeah, listen though. She talks about Abercrombie, doesn't she?
I wish somebody would have told me when I was younger that all bodies aren't the same. But I've
Yeah, I do know this
bitty models on magazine covers told me I was overweight. I stopped eating. What a bummer. Can't have carbs at a hot girl summer. If I could go back and tell myself when I was younger, I'd say, I know Victoria's Secret. Girl, you
So the fact that I actually thought that
that it was Abercrombie.
no wonder you had no idea what I was talking
Because
about.
it wasn't.
It's Victoria's Secret.
Yeah. Victoria's.
Alas, we're going to talk about Abercrombie.
So there is a connection there, though. The
Correct.
company called The Limited owned Abercrombie and Fitch and
Yes.
Victoria's Secret
Makes sense.
at one time.
He's an old man who lives in a mansion.
Yeah,
And he's gross.
So the guy who
was he an
ran-
Epstein gross?
Allegedly, possibly Epstein connections. Yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly, I'm going to say that a lot.
Allegedly.
I don't
We're not
have,
trying to get sued on
legal
episode 3.
counsel yet.
Right.
So I don't know. All I know is that I'm just going to be saying allegedly a lot. Okay, so are you ready for the real tea?
I'm ready for the real tea.
Abercrombie.
Real tea Abercrombie. Love how that sounds.
Okay,
good.
I like it.
Okay.
What do you remember about Abercrombie? What,
As a kid.
yeah, like what does it
Sure.
just like trigger in your memory bank?
Teeny tiny little jeans that I remember being devastated I couldn't wear anymore at 23 when I had been it after. Right?
Yeah.
Because they were so low, they like sat
Yeah.
right on top of the muff.
The mom.
Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Or like where that would be.
Mine, yeah.
I remember the smell. I remember the music.
too.
I remember like they just sort of created a beautiful young people picture perfect
Yeah.
summer lifestyle or any lifestyle.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Totally. I remember the smell. I recently actually tried to buy like a men's fragrance sample set looking for the smell. And it wasn't. Like, I don't think they sell it anymore. I
Really?
don't know. Yeah. It was always so dark in there. Do you
Loud
remember?
music.
Yeah, so loud. Mike Jeffries. We're going to talk a lot about him, but
Okay.
I'm going to table it for a sec. His whole strategy was just like cool, beautiful people. And they never really had to have talent. Customer service wasn't really a priority.
Oh, the workers.
Yeah, the workers, staff at all the stores. And he was like considered to be a creative genius, but like insane and a micromanager and not great to work with. They certainly had
And discriminatory.
they had discriminatory practices there. If you were a minority, you could basically like clean. You couldn't be front store staff. Yeah.
For how many years? And in what year?
Well, I'll have to go back to the.
Okay,
I'll
that's
have to
fine.
go back to
I
the
know
notes.
you have so many notes.
I have other crazy facts that I think are just so interesting. So we kind of have to even go back. So he started in 1992 or 1993 and was into, I think he was done in 2013 was when Mike Jeffries was done. So like quite a long reigning era that made them who they are today. But they were actually, Abercrombie and Fitch was created in 1873. If I'm getting it, 1892. I made that first number up. They started in 1892 as like an outfitters. So a guy in New York City, David Abercrombie, and a wealthy lawyer, Ezra Fitch, and a real estate developer became business partners, started this store, and it was like Theodore Roosevelt would get his safari gear from Abercrombie, which is like remnants of that moose, you know, the moose.
Oh, and they used to be behind every register, or like, or is it still their logo? Is it still their logo today or no?
Yeah, I do think so.
Interesting.
I still think it's a big part of the identity. So it started with that. It was like an outfitters for sports gear and like expensive. They had fishing rods, expensive shotguns. So here's my first fact that I just think is like the craziest thing. Ernest Hemingway.
Sure.
Do you know how he died?
I do, I think.
He shot himself.
That's right.
With a gun that he bought at Abercrombie and Fitch.
No way!
And his wife sold it back as consignment to Abercrombie, and then they resold it. Isn't that crazy?
Do they know to who?
It was in the NRA article, and I think they just, but it was like kind of meaningless. I don't know. The person probably knows.
Ernest Hemingway
Yeah.
shot himself
Yeah.
with a gun he purchased
At Abercrombie and Fitch.
at Abercrombie and Fitch.
Nuts.
And the fact 93?
So they started in 1892. I don't know when Hemingway died.
Oh.
But they were very popular for many, many, many years as this like outdoorsman store.
Okay.
They did very well, but because they were for the wealthy and they had very expensive items, they struggled at some point in the mid like 1900s.
Depression era, maybe
something, whatever.
1970.
Yeah, like late in that century. They had things in inventory that were like a chess set that was like $150,000 in today's value. But like, who needs a chess set for $100,000? You know what I mean? So they just had like, in chess, does that even make sense? Like, why is that product even there? So they, I think, were probably poorly managed, didn't really have much of a strategy. They went bankrupt. They were sold to another company, Oshman Sporting Goods. Me neither. Houston-based retail chain bought it for $1.5 million just for their mailing list. So Abercrombie went from really successful selling outdoorsman goods to Theodore Roosevelt and the likes.
They're selling a lifestyle.
Royalty.
Yeah.
Royalty, to complete like bankruptcy, only worth your mailing list, which probably, I mean, you never know.
1.5 is a very expensive mailing list.
Yeah, an expensive mailing list, but like nothing for a company that's, you know,
Fair
equivalent to $7 million in 2023 dollars. So it's still nothing to buy a company. No. It feels like to me. So they just became a mail order brand by this Oshman's company until The Limited, which owns Victoria's Secret, bought them. So what was that guy's name? The weirdo. Allegedly.
The alleged weirdo.
Yeah. So that was in 1988. And then the CEO who made it what it became signed on in 1992 or 1993. So they became this like hypersexualized brand that was really unlike what it was ever before, but really fit the mold, I think, of what was going on with The Limited and the whole Victoria's Secret vibe too, if you ask me.
1992. That was ultra skinny, ultra tan.
Yeah.
Ultra low cut, high cut.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't a 00. I remember being a 2 or a 5. I'm smaller now than I was in high school, right? But even like I remember being a size 4 and feeling like, oh my God, I'm fat because of Abercrombie and Fitch and Victoria's Secret.
It is the truth. No, I think it's absolutely the truth. Absolutely. I don't really have any memories of like fitting well in the clothes that I bought there, for sure. I don't know. I'm thinking in my head, why didn't I just buy a bigger size? But like, I was a size medium, but it fit like a small. Why was it so small?
Right? Why is it so small?
Mike Jeffries was the CEO from 1992 to 2014. He made statements that were, I'm going to read the long one. It's been paraphrased and spread. This was not shocking to anybody at the time, did not make headlines when he said this in 2006, but it was resurfaced 8 years later and was like appalling, and he had to make apologies or something. That's why we hire good-looking people in our stores, because good-looking people attract other good-looking people, and we want to market to the cool, good-looking people. We don't want to market to anyone other than that. In every school, there's the cool and popular kids, and then there's the not-so-cool kids. Candidly, we go after the cool kids. We go after the attractive, all-American kid with a great attitude and a lot of friends. A lot of people don't belong in our clothes, and they can't belong. Are we exclusionary? Absolutely.
What year was that?
2006.
Whoo! Didn't the Lululemon person say something like real rude? Like we only make to a 12 because we don't want anybody bigger wearing them?
I think
Wasn't that a thing?
No, I think you're right.
How rude.
So rude. And he didn't care. He was unapologetic. So Mike Jeffries.
With lots of friends. If it's not pressure to be skinny, now you have to have friends too.
Yeah.
And be popular.
Yeah. But that's like
all American.
What he wanted to create. So all-American to him also totally very much meant like white, Eastern looking.
Even
like,
blonde hair, blue eyes was huge.
Yep. And he was too. He
was. Shocking.
Yep.
Can't believe it.
So he had some interesting tendencies that I started to get into. There's a Netflix documentary that kind of goes into just his weird quirks. So
I want to watch that. We're going to have to put that in the comments too.
And then the BBC podcast is like a 9-part episode series that goes into much bigger issues that the FBI is now investigating. Alleged sex trafficking.
What?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I cannot laugh about something that's so terrible as this, but I probably will awkwardly laugh because it's just so shocking.
So shocking.
So shocking. Okay.
I'm super proud here sitting in my Detroit Lions Abercrombie sweatshirt, by the way.
Well, we may be able to come full circle on them. I promise.
Freaking hope so.
I promise. I told you this would be shocking. But they've had a long history, and their history doesn't end in 2006 when Mike Jeffries was the CEO.
Okay.
But he was the CEO for a long time. He created the vision of that, like Abercrombie flip-flops, the jeans and the polo or like the white button-up. That was his vision, his creation. That didn't like exist at Abercrombie before he introduced it. He would require his staff to wear that outfit as a uniform. People at the Hamptons, you know what I mean? Like not his staff at the office.
Oh, like his
people,
his housekeeper and his groundskeeper had to wear Abercrombie outfits?
Yes. Airplane pilots.
Mike Jeffries.
Mike Jeffries. Their handbook.
Is he still alive? Sorry to interrupt.
Yes. Their handbook for how the airplane pilots had to dress included to the detail of underwear. Abercrombie white underwear. His partner was not ever officially employed by Abercrombie, but had so much authority and so much control and so much say that they were just called the Abercrombie guys.
Okay. So he's a gay man?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's the implication. I don't know that he...
Allegedly.
Yeah.
We don't care either way, but we're not certain.
Yeah, yeah. What do you remember, like, what the models looked like?
Very, very, very skinny.
Were they male-dominated? Like, the visual I have in my head is just, like, the guy without his shirt on.
Yeah, for sure. But then that's 50%, I would say.
Oh, okay.
And then the other would be a very tall, skinny blonde who was sun-kissed.
Yeah.
Maybe a little freckles on her cheeks. Yeah. And hip bones.
Yeah, always the hip bones. Like
and shoulder bones. And yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah. They would have recruiters go throughout, like, Nebraska, the Midwest. They would go in bars, and then they would like contact, like they would, buy a drink, reach out.
Like Girls Gone Wild for Abercrombie models.
Guys.
Oh, for
That's
guys.
how they recruited like high school football stars, and then would tell them, "We're going to Brazil in a week. Here's your ticket. Pay them, for their time." But like these are never aspiring models.
Give them some free clothes,
and say, "Here, do what you would normally do." So they'd like toss around a football or like do pull-ups.
A lot of action.
Yeah, like pull-ups on a tree in the jungle. Like weird stuff, the way that it was described.
Pull-ups
like,
on a tree in the jungle. if the bus pulled up and I was at the bar and they're like, we're going to need you to come to a photo shoot and do pull-ups on a tree in the jungle.
But they didn't tell them what to do. They were just like, what would you normally be doing? And then, of course, they are there to be seen, right? So they're like, okay, I'll just, start doing whatever, like weird stuff. That's just how it organically came out.
Do you think they only recruited the boys out of bars? Why wouldn't they recruit the girls at the same time?
That was never part of the story. So the recruiting piece is important because he would do the same thing with one recruiter in particular. He would have them find men, young 20s, who he would allegedly have them find men in their this like similar type of demographic, and would ask them to come to, he would fly them out to his properties, either in the Hamptons or New York, but international
Epstein
trips as well.
Island, allegedly.
For ultra clarity, nothing Epstein related came up in the BBC thing.
Really?
But the practices are similar. He would take he would have them sign an NDA. He would take away their passports and their phones when they traveled internationally. So they were allegedly held hostage. And then they would...
Like culty almost a little bit.
Yep. They would all be dressed in their like Abercrombie gear that he told...
Down to their underwear.
The recruiter gave them to buy, a gift card to Abercrombie to go shopping for the trip. One of the guys was like, I thought it just must have been his kink. Like, this is just, he likes to see people in all of his clothes and walking around him like that. They were all under the impression that they were going to be at a photo shoot, which sometimes certainly did happen. But in these cases, they would fly these guys out there and then have sex parties. He would instruct them to have sex with other people. There were multiple people who said they were not gay, they were straight. They didn't want to be doing this. There was some who... Did
they feed him Molly or ecstasy or whatever they call it now, these kids?
One guy said that he's like, I was drinking. I've never had an issue holding my alcohol. I got this, but I don't know why. I was just so tired. When I woke up, I'm just going to have to put like a trigger warning right now. When I woke up, I pulled a condom out of my ass, and I don't know how it got there. And he ended up with HIV like months later. Found out he was HIV positive.
Is this is all disclosed on the BBC show?
Yes.
So I'm gonna have to watch this.
Yes. The BBC wants a podcast.
Oh, I
think they do actually have it on. They might have it on something BBC related, but I listened to it as a podcast.
And what year is this happening? Throughout
this was the late. So this was the late 2000s. So he was still...
What in the hell?
He was still a CEO.
Wrong with people.
But this didn't come out until 2023. The BBC stuff came out last year. So the FBI is investigating this. It is enough to say that it's alleged sex trafficking. It is so freaky. And Abercrombie and Fitch today, I think, is doing as much as they can to separate and distance themselves. But it's just crazy to me. He had a gigantic pension payout, so they're still paying him for like millions, tens of millions of dollars for retirement. I don't know. It's just nuts. He even had like full access to the Abercrombie jet. That's how he, in many cases, flew people. In one estimation, one of the workers that was on the trip shared that there were multiple nights of events and they had different groups of guys for every night. So there was an estimation just based on what these guys said that they were paid, because they did get paid for this, that it was like hundreds of thousands, like $500,000 in one weekend, just in paying multiple nights of like dozens of guys.
And who is the clientele? The Jeff?
Abercrombie guys, yes.
Executives?
Jeff, yeah.
Just the two of them would need 14 guys? I mean, they didn't have any friends involved, or that hasn't come out yet? They have to have other rich friends who are into it.
Fair. I don't know.
Allegedly. But you know what I mean? Like,
wasn't a part of the story. I don't know.
I would be very curious to know. Fair. And it's also very similar to what they were doing at Epstein Island. Someone's got to be looking into this.
Yeah.
As in terms of like the connectivity.
Right. It's nuts. So 2014 rolls around. He's fired, or he quits. I don't know. I don't know how he parted ways with Abercrombie. I don't think it was necessarily on bad terms.
No one's blowing the whistle at this point, though.
No, none of this came out until last year. All of like the sex parties, people did not talk. They had signed NDAs. They didn't get to keep a copy. They just felt like, I need to forget this. That's what the people who were interviewed. There was 8 guys who were interviewed by BBC who had been a part of this. Only one of the 8 said that he was, willing. Oh, yeah. Everybody else was like, no, I thought I was coming to be a model. I thought this was sort of like the price for entry, but I never got to be a model. Yeah. They were at basically their worst at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. So 2015, they hired a new CEO. The CEO today is Fran Horowitz, I want to say is her name. I've watched some interviews of her. So impressed. Like, she's somebody that I think is just an interesting person. I think she started in 2015. I think she has been the CEO since that transition. At that point, in 2016, Abercrombie and Fitch was on America's most hated retail brand.
On what year? In what year?
This is 2016. So he was done in 2014.
Yeah.
New leadership in 2015. 2016, they are still the most hated retail brand.
Yeah, I didn't buy their stuff for 20 years. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
20 years.
Right. I
now,
forgot they existed.
I've got all sorts of journeys.
Yeah.
Customer journeys with them.
So 2018, they shifted their target market to be a little bit of an older demographic.
The fact that I just said I haven't bought that shit until recently, and then you go the very next. Well, they market to an older demographic. Yeah. Well, thanks.
I really think though
I'm
that
getting
40. So we have a lot of, I still think, relatively positive nostalgia.
Oh my God! If I still had my peppermint pink corduroy bell bottoms from Abercrombie today, I would be rocking them.
Yeah.
Out. Yes. I don't have
And
until today. And the song that I thought was about Abercrombie, but was really about Victoria's Secret, which is really the same thing allegedly.
Do you remember the LFO song?
Yeah.
I like girls that
Wear Abercrombie and Fitch. I'll take her if she isn't a bitch. No, I'm kidding. How does it go?
That was a good one.
Thanks. I actually think I could be a jingle writer if I'm not kidding you. But now there's Chat GPT, so I'm not going to go into that market.
Maybe it's still a side hustle until people adopt more AI.
I'll take her if she had one. Something about that summer, since that summer.
I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch. I'd take her if I had one wish.
Oh, yeah.
She's been gone since that summer.
Since that
summer.
Yeah. Since that summer. Yeah.
Okay, so they really changed their strategy. It was a multi-year approach, much of which was, I think, following and going back to the audience who did have fond memories may not have even been aware of some of the negativity. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. And are possibly even that they're stretching into that younger millennial. Not, I think we're on.
Hello. No, I'm kidding.
Really
Gen
on
Z.
the older end of what they're targeting, but they're doing it. And I think was probably the most successful piece of it.
Yeah.
They are investing hugely in data analytics, insights, trying to understand their consumer. I thought you would find this interesting. Their customer muse today is the central point. That's what they called it. Their muse is the central point for how they make decisions. So that, like, thinking about that that demographic and then the problem that they're trying to solve, or that customer muse that inspires them, is whatever our customers need for a long weekend. Whether that's the denim or the wedding shop or going to an F1 race. Part of the double click into their denim journey was not just about inclusive sizing, which they did really invest in and make that shift, but understanding how denim fit needs to change for every different body shape. So it's not just okay to just have a larger size. What does a curvy body look and feel like? And they introduced their Curve Love line, which now accounts for half their denim sales.
Damn.
Yes. So they've been extremely successful in this shift in strategy. In 2021 and in 2024, or twice, they've had record-setting income and highest margin earnings for their brand, exceeding pre-pandemic levels, highest it's been since the reigning era of Mike Jeffries.
So I will tell you, I became an Abercrombie customer again because I have a daughter who's blonde haired and blue eyes and is built like a teeny tiny little 12-year-old Abercrombie model. And so I put a thing out on Facebook because I was having a really hard time finding her tight black leggings.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't find them anywhere. And they used to have, Lululemon used to have a little girls line, and they
don't anymore.
They went away with it. And Athleta leggings, so I started buying her Athleta leggings. And they fit her great, but I started to become an Abercrombie customer because everyone said who had little teeny little peanut skinny tiny little things, try Abercrombie. And they're like soft, like the Target brand.
Yeah.
They're not like an athleisure, like, do you know what I'm saying? Exercise material. Yeah. And they're $25 a pair. So then then you and I went in a brick and mortar store in Somerset last year.
Yeah.
And then I bought stuff for myself and Bennett.
And I loved the experience, by
I
the way.
loved the experience.
The fitting rooms had different lights for different types of settings.
Yes. Obsessed. And their clothes are adorable. And I got Bennett then I think my sister actually got Bennett this lion sweatshirt for Christmas. So I am a Abercrombie consumer.
Like
revivalist, but across a 12-year-old preteen, almost a 17-year-old, and a getting 40 lady.
Yeah. That's hella good.
That's hella good.
That's really good.
I'm the whole loop.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are their target audience.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, their shorts are short, but not too short, right?
Yeah.
Not all of them, and not too short for what I would find appropriate for myself.
Yeah.
Now, maybe some people wouldn't think it would be appropriate for them, but I just feel like it's not like they're not denim underwear in some instances.
Yeah.
I'm sure in some instances you can still get denim underwear from Abercrombie. Great for that.
Some people can.
Great for them. Love all of you. Oh my daughter wears denim underwear.
Yeah. The thigh rub to me would just be too much.
We talked about that. I chafed for the first time. Did we talk about this?
That you shaved?
Chafed.
Oh, chafed.
I didn't know what it felt like. I thought I literally had like red ants crawling in my thighs, and it was from chafing. My pants got wet, and I was walking, and that really hurts.
Yeah, it does.
I get it now.
Yeah, and then like it can't touch each other.
Oh, it was burning, and I'm like, I seriously thought I got bit by red ants, but it was just from chafing.
Welcome to the club. They are almost $5 billion brand.
Nice.
So
were they owned? Are they still underneath the limited umbrella?
No. Ooh. So they did part ways. I don't remember. I don't even know if I looked it up, but they are an independent.
Is company. Hollister related?
So Hollister is about 50% of their sales.
And is that supposed to be like the Gap versus Old Navy, like premium Abercrombie and more of a...
They're not positioning it that way. They are positioning the lifestyle differently. So Hollister, and then they have one called...
I don't know the price difference. Gilly Hicks.
Gilly Hicks, as I think maybe Australian. It kind of gives an Australian vibe to me. I don't know where. I could be completely making that up. It sounds to me that I think they're still evolving with those distinct identities. I was listening to an interview by the CEO, and she was describing how they were still working to shape what those distinct identities are for those brands. My hypothesis, or the what I'm taking out of it, is that Hollister is supposed to be targeted towards a younger demographic, but it also remains very much like the Southern California
surf
beach vibe.
Okay.
Abercrombie's intended their like brand muse right now is the long weekend. So it has a lot more diversity in the image that it's offering. And then I think Gilly Hicks is kids. I don't know. That one I really don't know, but I thought it was like truly like children.
Right. And it's not cheap, but it's also not the most expensive brand out there either. I mean, in terms of like...
It's really moderate.
Right. And they're good sales. There's 40% off. I just really think whoever's designing for them, whoever's the lead creative, I guess.
Yeah.
Mucho kudos.
Agreed. I listened to a couple of interviews from one of the designers. Just loves the way that he spoke. He's totally creative. That was where the customer muse story came from, and how they talked
I love that
about
too.
Co-creating. He talked a lot about the process. So there's a creative strategy that it was really looking at, like in the next year, what this needs to be in terms of, probably that's like vision boarding-esque type thing. And then there's another team that takes that transition. Okay, we understand the strategy. How do we turn that into practical apparel? What does it need to introduce that? And then there's a separate go-to-market team. So I think there were 3 stages.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Of creation. One thing I did want to call out, that despite all of these like high earning, high margin, they have record-setting. I don't know if it's record-setting. I should take that back. They have very high spending also right now. So it's not just like they're cutting costs. They are outperforming the industry significantly, and still spending $20 million in a quarter on like basically marketing in tech investments and analytics. Way to
be Abercrombie.
Half of their income comes from e-commerce sales, which only about 20% of their peer competitive set is e-commerce. I really think they're killing it, like on all fronts, from the brand
to the investment.
Yes, like they're doing all of the right things, and they're they're executing well. I would reflect a little bit on the fact that this is 10 years in the making, basically. They hit their bottom.
Perfect segue.
You know, they hit their rock bottom with transition of leadership, with
unethical things starting to come out.
Exactly.
Not good PR. Like they hit rock bottom from a
Totally
PR to an audience.
And it has taken them a minute. This is not
decade.
overnight. But all of a sudden, once we realized it, we were all on board. I really think.
I'm aligned. And you know what? When you say 10 years, and I was thinking about this a lot with business strategy, one of the reasons that I got frustrated in a professional environment with business strategy is we got to sit long enough, folks.
Yes.
Like I'm reading this book that was Simon, right? It's The Infinite Game. He basically starts the book off by saying Vietnam didn't go into the World War II to win.
Yeah.
They went in there to just keep going, right? Where the U.S. thought there was going to be a beginning and an end. And in business, any leader who's continuously or only or microscopically focused on winning has a very narrow view, because the game of business is an infinite game.
Yeah.
And so for a company like Abercrombie in this day and age, with so much pressure, with bottom lines, financial results, quarter close, to not only be peak of profitability, but also investing for the long, the infinite game, as Simon calls it. Yeah. Like it just never stops.
Yeah. That's daunting a little bit.
It's daunting. It's daunting, but also like
for a public company.
You kind of said at the beginning of this episode, like your strategy is to take yourself as a reporter, as a podcaster, as a partner from your is state to your desired future state. Right. That's infinite.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that
it doesn't mean the end. It is like the next, it's the first.
Until you set another. Right.
Yeah.
So it is daunting, but at the same time, I think it's incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
You just have to remember, I think there's a balance of like celebrating the small wins, if you will, in pursuit of like
and sometimes
the
the
infinite.
Small wins is just for Abercrombie and not being on the world's hatest.
Right.
America's
You're not getting torn up all over Twitter. I will never call it X. Ask the Alexer. That's what my dad calls her.
Do you want to know about sustainability?
I want to know about sustainability, and I want to know, give me the be good.
Okay. So far, again, this was one of my reflections that, like, I'm not an expert here. I don't really know. I've only researched a handful of parts of this industry. So far, Abercrombie is the most impressive in their transparency for sustainability. Mic drop. I'm not dropping these mics though.
We haven't made any revenue yet. I've dropped enough for mics for the both of us. Literally almost killed myself a couple times.
So they have about 250 published suppliers on their website. They communicate the 4 steps in their value chain that come before they even put a product in their store. I don't know them off the top of my head, but you can kind of imagine there's like a textile mill, there's there's harvesting even, right? So growing, then turning that into textiles, then cutting, shaping, sewing, and then maybe they're the last one. There's 4, whatever they are. You get the general idea. There's 4 steps. Yep. And they do publish it. They have supplier standards published transparently, and they have prioritized those 2 stages closest, their tiers that are closest to their endpoint as their like initial prioritization as to expectations. You can't control the entire industry, right? They are a large company. They are almost $5 billion, but they are also only $5 billion, and they're not the only one.
Sure.
So I think the way that
you feel like they're doing their part is your takeaway.
I think they are doing the best that I've seen so far. Better than
Good American? Mm-hmm. In terms of transparency?
Yep. I think Good American has done a really good job. They've only had the one supplier, and they have high standards with how they're executing it, so they can control all of that. With the setup that Abercrombie and Fitch has, it's not all within their control, but they have high standards. they are transparent about where they are and meeting them. So they do have supplier standards, material standards that are published transparently, and they do have sustainability goals. I can share a couple of them with you. Some of these things they're not doing well on, and again, it's transparency. So they show how they're measuring, and they show where they're at in their success. They have achieved and maintained its goal to source 100% of down from responsible down standards, some certified source, blah, 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 blah. They set the goal in 2019 and they achieved it.
And what is the goal?
Responsible down standards.
What does that mean?
Down feather, like feathers, right?
Sure. Like raw material standards? Like.
I think if you have like a puffer jacket.
Okay, understand.
Down is inside it.
Yeah.
29% of its cotton supply is supplied through like a better cotton standard. Their goal is 30% and they're at 29. So they're nearing that. 93% of units containing polyester fill were sourced as recycled polyester. So that's exceeding their goal.
At some point we need to get into like is it worth recycling? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the actual impact of energy, water, all of that on the recycling process? Air fucking quotes.
I actually totally agree. I think it would be really interesting to find a couple of
what is
companies.
The cradle to cradle, right?
Yeah, and then so let's hopefully we can maybe source what companies are doing well,
right?
And how are they doing it, and then we can kind of reflect like, okay, here's where the industry has these recyclability challenges. What could it take to fix it? I don't know. I mean, we're not the only ones. There's totally smarter people thinking about this.
100%.
But it would be so fun to talk about. Okay, so there's a couple of areas that they're not doing well. This is sort of related. Source 100% of man-made cellulosic fiber from non-endangered or ancient forests. They have traced 99% of its MCF suppliers, and they're trying to figure out the percentage of like where it's sourced from. So they're having a difficult time with their supplier to figure out where.
But they're trying. They
are trying, and they're struggling. This is something that it can be made from bamboo. It's a material that's sourced from wood pulp, and can come from more sustainable wood sources.
Sure.
But it's clearly like a challenged industry. It's a good ingredient because it is renewable and it can be climate friendly, but it just has to be
not from an endangered forest.
Yep. Here's another one. They have a goal to achieve 25% of units that contain. So right now, only less than 5% of their units have at least 25% recycled polyester, and it's really because while it's widely available, we use polyester. They might be like, I'm thinking back to my time of like recycled pop cans, PET. They're made of different colors. They have different qualities. There's no existing collection mechanism to get these products back into the hands of the supplier, who can then turn them back into something useful. So it's a really difficult, it's not economically profitable. It's not always technically feasible for companies to do. So it's really challenging, and they're clearly, struggling. They put a goal out there, but it's not going terribly well. But I love to see it.
You like the goals? I
love the goals.
And their people? Diversity amongst their leadership, diversity amongst their representation.
I didn't look at leadership diversity. That would be an interesting
we need to start including that.
Yeah, like a little bit of a checklist of what the standards are that we are looking for. I didn't even think to do that.
I didn't either until that very moment.
Nope, I think that's a good suggestion. I would just trust that since they are doing so well in even their ambitions and their transparency about sustainability, I do believe that they have probably good standards for all of the other aspects of that. Part of their supplier standards is in sourcing from companies that have like safe working practices. That is a part of their supplier standards. That wasn't as transparent, or at least I didn't see it, as their material transparency. But they use like a third party kind of certification, or like a third party standard so they're not making it up on their own, which I also liked. So remember how we talked about the construction industry has lead?
Yeah.
That's what I think they're doing. They're using
Understood.
like the lead for textiles to say, hey, what's this got to be considered good? It's not just them making it up and saying, oh yeah, we have standards and our suppliers are following them. I think it's called the Higgs standard. We are taking what somebody else has said is good and we're applying them, and you have to meet these high standards. And I do think that they're good from what I could tell.
Hallelujah. Fabulous research.
Wasn't it
per
fun?
usual, like I die. And again, does anybody care about us? We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of Abercrombie, we're clinking.
I agree. That's what
And we're clinking today to Creation Coffee. They're a little Midland company. I don't know
Yeah.
if they're from Midland base or Tri-City area.
Roasted, roasted locally.
If you want to host our coffee, just holler at us.
You want to sponsor us?
You want to sponsor
We'll
our
take
coffee?
sponsors.
We'll take sponsors. I got a iced vanilla. It was lovely.
Yeah, latte, iced latte, caramel.
So I think I'm going to cling to Abercrombie.
Can we clink?
I think perhaps TBD, like let's see what unfolds here about the company in the next little bit, like, and that will be interesting as well to, if we see it in the news or a new special comes out or updates, we can sort of update. But for now I'm clinking.
Here's my only last question.
Okay.
Why wasn't that a bigger deal?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I think the Epstein story was out. Like you've seen
there was
one
just
about
bigger gross people.
bigger gross people, gross, between that and the Lacey Peterson one that's out, and my sister-in-law said there's some chimp thing on HP. I mean, I just feel like the gross of the gross of the gross was Epstein.
Yeah.
And the amount of celebrities tied to him. My very first question to you was, who was with them?
Right.
And you're like, nobody. I'm like, well, Epstein had Clinton,
probably
allegedly.
not. No, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally right.
So I think that, and then maybe they have really phenomenal public relations people that.
Yeah, I don't want Abercrombie punished.
I don't either.
Today's Abercrombie to be punished.
Right, as long as they're on the up and up. Correct. Yeah.
That's what was my takeaway.
Yeah, sure.
So I guess I want to leave it at that. Like in some ways, I really want to speak at the highest volumes. Like, pay attention. This guy is creepy, because maybe reason being he should be in jail. Period. So that's what needs to happen.
Is he still with his same life partner?
Yes, as far as anybody
Where
knows.
do they live? Do we know?
Yeah, they had a house in the Hamptons that they sold for $30 million. Similar price point apartment in New York City that they sold. And he would fly back and forth to Ohio, where...
He's an old man who lives in Ohio.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Jax.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's where the Limited was. So I don't know where Abercrombie's headquarters currently is, because they're not with the Limited anymore. They probably may have still remained in Ohio. I don't know.
I love that.
But he lives in New York, in the New York area, give or take.
Probably still human, allegedly trafficking. No.
Alleged.
It's not funny.
His power was taken away. He's
Sure.
still wealthy, but who wants
Is he
to be
ousted?
an Abercrombie
Is he getting
model?
diddied? Is he getting...
Yeah. So that's what I hope happens. I don't want current day Abercrombie to be punished for his crimes.
No, I'm loving the sweatshirt, by the
Yeah.
way. The materials they're picking,
Yeah.
the brand,
Big
the
fan.
creative. Big fan.
fan.
I mean, it was Bennett's. I think it's probably too small for him now. But
Yeah. So those yours.
well, happy Monday, my friend.
Happy Monday. Best Monday ever.
I hope that you don't have any more foot cream instances with Mr. Clay. My niece is actually coming over to watch her. She's probably already here, so she's 2. So
Yeah.
I always tell everybody my whole time she's here, I just try to keep her
Alive.
breathing, keep her alive. Yep, because she moves.
Yeah.
All right, my love.
All right.
Till next
cheers.
time.
Yes.
Cheers. Woohoo.
Thank you for listening to Stirred Up. If you like what you heard, please subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Follow us on your podcast apps. Please send it to a friend. Leave a comment. Add a rating. Every little bit helps. We look forward to seeing you next week.